In the fractured heart of ancient China, where kingdoms clash like restless giants, a single knock on the gate could uproot a life. It is dawn and you, a humble farmer, awaken to find the hands of fate drumming upon your door. Men of the state stand tall and stern, scrolls in one hand, spears in the other, their eyes as cold as the iron they bear. You, once a sower of seeds, now face an unwelcome harvest. Branded and counted, your wife's tears echo your unspoken dread as you march away from your fields towards the unknown horrors of war. Begin now, stepping into a world where dawn brings not just light but a different kind of reckoning. In a humble village, life is a simple tapestry, woven from soil, seed and sweat. Every day begins with the call of birds and the whispered hopes of farmers kneeling in prayer to the earth. They are men whose lives revolve around the dance of the harvest and the land's relentless demands. But today, the harmony is shattered. The familiar rhythms of village life come to a halt with the ominous sound of boots crunching on hard ground. This day, the air feels different. Tense, weighted with an eerie silence. Soldiers march with grim resolve, bringing a decree that transforms lives in an instant. The customary morning calm gives way to an uneasy stir as the villagers gather, eyes filled with anxious question and apprehension. A knock echoes on the doors, not just a rattle of wood, but a drumbeat of fate sealing futures with undeniable finality. In the Warring States period of China, conscription is not an anomaly, but a fact as unyielding as the seasons. Farmers, tethered to fields now untended and unloved, are transformed. They are thrust into a narrative of war, a story not of their making. They go not to wield a plow, but to bear a spear, as ink from the decree bleeds into their old lives, marking a new beginning marred by uncertainty and fear. Morning rituals slip away like vapours as the soldiers approach, masks of authority in hushed voices. The villagers exchange uneasy glances, their premonition of trouble sharpening as it manifests before them. The sky, overcast, mirrors their heart's weight, pressing silence upon the land. The scroll come unfurled with the weight of destiny, written not in suggestion but in command. Resistance isn't an option. These words are orders dispatched from realms beyond their comprehension. Men of fields are summoned, each scroll a silent harbinger of change. They know not the truths these papers bear, yet innately understand the cold clarity etched in their words. They must leave behind the life they know, the families they cherish. Sons clutch their mothers, wives hold their husbands a moment longer. Silent promises drift in whispers, as the grip of war severs the bonds of routine. Hearts break gently under this strained harmony, captured in gestures that speak volumes of fear and hope intertwined. In the village's midst, the branding irons await, a ritual not merely of physical branding, but one that marks the soul. It is a moment of transformation, as irrevocable as it is scarring, redefining identity, in cruel irony rooted in inked declarations. They stand, shackled not by chains but by duty, their former selves fading under a harsher necessity. The brand becomes a permanent echo of obligation, carving anonymity where there was once individuality. The march begins. Loved ones turn into a memory etched against the horizon, shadows swallowed by the vast expanse of war. Each hastened step away from the familiar is laden with a deep yearning for return. They move forward, bound by invisible strings of fate, threading the land with hopes for a future reborn from survival. In their wake, stories lie unfinished, dreams for harvests never sown. Yet in this passage, Those remaining in the village are left with their grief. Faces of stone mask tears unshed as they cling to fragile threads of fortitude. The fields, once a hive of activity, become echo chambers of loss. They are guardians now, toiling the land alone, their days marked by struggle and resilience, nurturing the hope of return. The villagers endure, carving songs into the earth, tilling memories with each furrow turned. They bridge the divisions, tethering their existence more closely to kin, legacy forged across timelines unbidden by war. It is a defence born of necessity, while beneath the surface thrives an enduring will to resist oblivion. Conflicts that stretch beyond borders impose upon them stories disconnected from the cycles of crop and kin. Yet these farmers, transformed into soldiers, find themselves at a crossroads marked by perpetual change. The once clear distinctions of duty dissolve under the weight of new roles, oscillating between nurturing life and taking it, a duality bound by the wants of unseen powers. Even as time blurs the lines of understanding, the rhythm of their departure beats steadily on. The pain of separation etches scars deep into lives left at the village threshold. But in the silence that envelops the absent, there emerges a light, a legacy of resilience born from the land and the heart. From the shadows cast by the setting sun, the villagers turn inward, tethered to the pulse of the earth. They nurture an eternal connection, memories flowing like whispered promises between the furrows. As twilight falls, they till these fields with hope embossed in every seed, a solemn testament to continuity, to futures undiscovered, yet always hoped for. Each step forward is a step into the night, but also a step back toward a dawn, perhaps more forgiving. A new beginning fraught with echoes of those who tread the path before them. Your heart is heavy as you realise the weight of your departure. Fear and uncertainty mix with resignation as you leave behind your plough and field, slipping into a simple hemp uniform that does nothing to protect against the elements. This frail garb symbolises your new role as a conscripted farmer. The irritation it brings a constant reminder of the transformation underway. You look back at your homestead, a tableau of interrupted life with crops left to wither and loved ones left behind. With neighbours now turned comrades you march, your wife's cries still echoing in your ears. The state's demands are stark and undeniable. As dawn paints the horizon, you and the others fall into line, waiting for orders. The air is tense with unspoken fears, and the disarray reflects a strange mix of authority and confusion. Clutching the crude spear they thrust into your hands, a strange emblem of survival and constraint, you know that this is only the beginning. The unyielding land is unforgiving underfoot. Your bare feet already protest against the gravel trail. Tender and raw. Conversations are quiet, a shared silence of denial. The journey ahead stretches hundreds of li, an unfathomable distance that looms like a grim spectre. The march tests your will almost immediately. The roads gouge at your skin, the sun relentless in its assault. Each step delivers pain, stumbling over the uneven ground, and the once orderly ranks become a fragmented line of suffering. The commanders, distinguishable by their boots, show no concern for the agony of those below them. Your own makeshift footwear offers little relief. Soon your feet are bloody and blistered, every step etching the path into your flesh. Comrades watch your suffering with silent empathy, their own pain mirrored in yours. By nightfall, shared misery morphs into a collective endurance. You soak your feet at day's end in roadside puddles, desperate for a reprieve. Swelling and infection seem inevitable, but solidarity grants some relief. Older men speak of soldiers who have endured and thrived, tales that maintain a fragile hope among exhausted, weary souls. Hunger joins the march, a relentless companion. State provisions are meagre, millet pace barely enough to fuel exhausted muscles. The taste is bitter, the texture unyielding, yet you learn to savour it. Plucking weeds from the roadside, the scant greens add flavour, earth-ridden reminders of fields long abandoned. You gather with other conscripts to eat, conversations scant as hunger weaves through your ranks, a bond unbreakable yet ever tightening. Occasionally ration spoils are supplemented with small foraged elements, moments of relief that fade quickly. Orders permeate the column with an unseen force, leaving no room for dissent. Commands barked harshly, silence all complaints. The daily rhythm is relentless, bearing down any notion of rebellion. Each day erodes body and spirit, leaving behind weariness that's become routine. Yet somewhere beneath the relentless orders, you find unexpected fortitude, an acceptance of what must be done to simply keep moving. Moons rise and set, bringing temporary halts to the march. You find fitful rest on the harsh ground, embracing the earth as both enemy and reluctant ally. Dormant under the stars, your musings turn to residue of memories vividly reimagined, fields of golden harvests, family laughter, surviving despite the pressing darkness. These echoes offer brief solace, a connection with what was, when the current journey grows dark and unfamiliar. The night forest offers little peace, yet these whispers of home bring strength. Shared suffering forges unbreakable bonds among strangers. Though born of necessity, rather than affection, this brotherhood becomes vital. Solidarity built from hardship offers moments of reprieve amid the solitude that persists. In adversity, new connections bloom, empowering each step forward. Unity forms through collective burdens, common struggles making rare moments of respite feel like blessings. Your survival depends on these forged alliances, this silent understanding between souls compelled by shared fate. Acceptance weaves through you like a fine tapestry, binding disparate decisions into one act marching forward. Rebellion softens into an instinctual cadence, learned by necessity. Acceptance building quietly under inexorable routine. Fatigue dulls resistance, fostering a symbiotic understanding with the inevitable. Dreams, once forgotten or dismissed, find occasional refuge in the monotony. Purpose and place, once foreign and feared, find reconciliation amid infinitely expandable landscapes traversed. In this realm of acceptance, solace emerges, not from external comfort, but within an awakening realization that demands of service become their own balance in stilling movement's transient field. As purpose lingers over morning's horizon, the path leads beyond yesterday's shadows, a reconciliation carried through another day's march. A persistent whisper promising a future home, ever vigilant before unbidden, yet certain dawns. The transformation from farmer to conscripted soldier is a journey shrouded in chaos and abrupt change. Upon arrival at the makeshift camp, a scene of confusion and disorder greets you. Thousands of men, mostly simple farmers like yourself, are engulfed in a cacophony of shouted orders and clanging weapons, all bound by an undercurrent of fear. This is no place for structured training. It's a desperate attempt to forge soldiers out of civilians. You are handed a spear, taught to stab and block, but any fineness in technique is lost in the urgency of survival. Nights are spent under open skies, with rough tents as your only shelter. and the air is thick with the stench of unwashed bodies mingling with damp earth. Military discipline strikes like a thunderbolt, jolting you into a new reality. Orders come from a sergeant with a face as locked and hard as granite, his missing fingers and scars whispering of past wars. Training does not nurture. It dismantles your old self with harsh blows and sharp curses, reforging you into something unrecognisable. Instructions are shouted without pause, survival the one clear lesson, hammered through each barked command. Amidst this disorganised order, desperation throbs like a heartbeat. The state requires soldiers, and will create them by any means necessary. Death, or worse, is not a distant threat. It is a brutal consequence of mistake. The sergeant stands as a totem of hard-earned survival, his very presence a testament to the grim realities of war, faced long before you arrived. Under his drumming cadence, every order cuts through the chaos like a blade. Even the wind seems to pause when he speaks. His methods are crude, but through repetition, the chaos finds rhythm. Your mind, once preoccupied with the rows of millet, grasps this new reality framed by life and death's fragile margin. Despite his cruel humour and daunting stories of battle, the sergeant's lessons chisel away at your resistance, instilling in you the instincts of a fighter. His narratives, laden with dark irony, are delivered with an edge that hovers on the brink of comprehension. Gradually, these lessons foster a camaraderie among your fellow conscripts, born of shared suffering and survival. Bruises and cuts become common currency, each mark a story that binds strangers into reluctant brothers in arms. As training progresses, the mantra of holding the line ingrains itself. In formation, individuality dissolves into the larger machinery of war. Drums pound a relentless beat, synchronizing your steps, ensuring unity and purpose as you march. The line is drilled into you relentlessly, for to break it is to die. Trust, formed under duress, becomes your lifeline, tethering you to others united in the desperate bid for life. Each scar is a testament to what you endure, etching the transformation into your very skin. Your hands, familiar with plows, grow calloused against iron. Pain is ever present, each injury a reminder of life's remaining flame, burning brightly despite innocence lost. Fellow conscripts share tales of scars, twisted into humour that echoes around fires with hollow laughter, each mark a story etched in blood and skin. Superstitions and charms mingle with stories of injuries, revealing a landscape where survival is celebrated but always tinged with irony. Before dawn, desperation clings to the air as cold as the biting wind. Rising from a thin mat, weariness pulls at you as you prepare for another day of relentless training. This twilight hour becomes a sacred silence, a quiet reflection before the brutality of routine sets in. Together men gather in shared solitude, exchanging few words but understanding the weight of life's losses. As dawn breaks, a steely resolve replaces this momentary respite, the sergeant's arrival heralding another day of shared trials. Stories from the front lines, whispered around the fire at night, serve as grim entertainment. Men who have returned from battle paint vivid pictures of potential horrors. These tales, steeped in silence, carve deep impressions, each word a reminder of what you may soon face. Despite the fear they invoke, they teach lessons of survival, fragments of resilience needed for what looms ahead. War's language becomes ingrained, where fear fuels rather than paralyses. Over time, it sharpens reflexes and senses in a metamorphic journey, from constraint to ally, always looming, yet offering clarity. As fervour sings of glory, the truth of war's futility anchors your spirit. The rhythm of routine disguises time's passage, weeks blending into a seemingly endless cycle. Rumours and news interrupt the monotony, propelling speculation and igniting a strange hope. In this grueling evolution, the deeper rhythms of war reveal their stark contrasts. Each harsh lesson holds an unspoken truth, where survival emerges through understanding silence and chaos. As training reaches its peak, anticipation sharpens focus. The time draws near when orders will come, charting a path into uncertain fates. The march toward this destiny looms, an inexorable pull from peace to conflict, where roads once known for harvest now echo with marching feet, and the whispers of reluctant warriors stepping into the unknown. The arrival at the construction camp is a stark and jarring moment for the conscripted farmers, now soldiers of circumstance. The landscape teems with a hive of activity, dotted with tents and hastily erected wooden sheds. Here, amidst the controlled chaos, the air is ripe with the scent of sweat mingling with earth and newly cut timber. It is a place where individuality dissolves, a living testament to an empire's insatiable hunger for power. Under the relentless sun, each man becomes a mere cog in the sprawling, ambitious machine of war. From the moment the new conscripts step into the camp, they are embraced by a harsh routine as punishing as it is monotonous. Herded like livestock, sharp-eyed overseers bark orders, breaking spirits and bodies alike. The comforting cycles of farming, once reliant on the rhythm of nature, now are replaced with an unforgiving schedule dictated by the demands of impending conflict. Dawn's light is no longer heralded by a rooster's crow, but by the blast of a horn, summoning each man to shoulder another day of back-breaking labour. These men, whose lives once revolved around planting seeds, now summon the energy to construct instruments of war. Day by day the tasks are gruelling, seemingly endless and varied. The effort required to construct massive earthen walls and dig moats to safeguard against sieges demands every ounce of strength. Hard, unyielding earth becomes a nemesis first subdued by bare hands, a relentless foe that leaves skin cracked and knuckles bloodied. Bending at the waist under heavy loads of stone or lumber, each man drags forth memories of agrarian rituals, now distant echoes against the reality of their forced purpose. These structures, once built for sustenance, now serve survival's dark purpose, standing steadfast against enemies yet to be confronted. The camp is alive with an overwhelming cacophony, a discordant symphony of sounds that fills the air from dawn to dusk. Commands ring out with ferocious clarity over the hammering and sawing, each sound a note in the orchestra of toil and demand. To those unacquainted with this world, the sounds are just noise, but to the conscripts they are markers of meaning and survival. Whistles and the clang of stone offer vital cues as they synchronise labour. With an unspoken language the men operate, all too aware that the soundscape is both the brush of survival and a reminder of all they have left behind. All the while the pitiless elements conspire against them. The sun beats down with blistering intensity, rendering the air thick, daggers of heat stabbing the skin. The ground resists, unforgiving to their demands, breaking spirit as it breaks bone. Feet, once attuned to the gentleness of fertile soil, now blister and burn under its iron-like resolve. Exhaustion seeps into every muscle, every bone, deep into the very essence of these men, mirroring the attrition of warfare without the immediacy of the battlefield's violent clash. Sustenance offers little respite, meagre rations doled out with the mechanical detachment of an empire at war. a gruel of millet and water, echoes of a forgotten normalcy, become sustenance as grim and necessary as the stones they stack. Moments of so-called rest are tightly controlled, their tired bodies watched over with tireless scrutiny. Each whispered conversation, each shared memory of gentler days, offers a fleeting escape from the unyielding grip of reality. The hazards go hand in hand with labour, often claiming lives without fanfare or acknowledgement. The construction itself proves perilous, scaffolds collapsing with brutal swiftness, and mishaps claiming the unaware with lethal precision. Men too quickly become numbers, rolling into shallow graves without word or ceremony. In each face is etched both fear and resilience, a shared understanding that their destinies are intimately linked through the very soil they shape. Shelter, a scarce comfort, appears as they hastily craft their own refuge within the sprawling camp. These makeshift homes, composed of branches and mud, offer tight quarters and slight reprieve amidst overwhelming impermanence. They are shelters built as much for the mind as the body, walls to hold at bay the fears whispering within shadows. Here, in this marginal peace, lies a tentative control, a small measure of solace against despair's expanding tide. The psychological toll of forced labour digs deep, matching the physical strain. Minds stretch under the numbing repetition of days merging one into another. Disassociation becomes both shield and burden. Each man grappling for a piece of identity, now ghost-like in its evanescence. Humour, scarce yet heartening, emerges unexpectedly, a fragile thread binding them together. Resistance whispered beneath the spectre of an all-consuming state. Against this tapestry of labour and survival, bonds are nonetheless forged, silent, enduring. These men, bound by circumstance, find strength in shared adversity, carving out a semblance of humanity amid the relentless impersonal force of conscription. Each shared smile, each momentary camaraderie, bolsters spirits, strength born of necessity and whispered defiance. The omnipresent shadow of compliance looms large, but in this crucible of toil, they adapt, seeking refuge in a shared resilience. Here in history's sombre embrace, these conscripts become more than just tools of empire. They become echoes of a deeper humanity, silent witnesses to a forgotten age. The battlefield lay eerily silent as soldiers stood with thumping hearts, a calm precursor to the chaos to come. Among your fellow conscripts, anticipation hung thick in the air, interrupted sporadically by the rustle of wind or a nervous cough. Each man seemed trapped within his thoughts, contemplating the grim fate that awaited. The spear in your hand, its wood splintering under your grip, felt both like a lifeline and a sentence. A silent question of its ability to save you from death or bear witness to your fall. The world around you appeared to pause, a tense anticipation blanketing the horizon. Fear lingered, palpable, seeping into the bitter taste of sweat and anxious breath as clouds loomed overhead, casting foreboding shadows. As your eyes strained to pierce the distant veil, imagining the unseen yet inevitable enemy, your heart matched the pacing drums that soon would signal the advance. This interlude was a fragile reminder of life's transience, and you clung to each breath, acutely aware of mortality's shadow. When the command finally shattered the silence, it brought both relief and terror. Drums erupted in furious rhythm, compelling the troops into a collective forward motion. You moved with the mechanical precision of obligation rather than intent, experiencing the surreal sensation of marching not toward glory, but because you had no choice. The earth shifted beneath you, steeling your resolve in the face of this looming ordeal. driven by necessity rather than valour. Your initial steps were tentative, a sluggish shuffle as the ranks tried not to stumble over one another. But the pace soon quickened, and the line snaked forward, drawing ever closer to the maw of conflict. A glance around revealed faces struck by a complex mix of determination and dread, the eager beat of combat morphing into a cacophonous orchestra of metallic clangs and weapon clatter. Each step felt endless, closing the distance to a point of no return. Suddenly the air exploded with the ominous shriek of arrows, painting the sky in dark arcs. War's brutal prelude. You instinctively raised your shield, bracing against the jarring impacts of deadly rain. Cries of the injured punctuated the chaos as you remained in place, unwilling to lower your guard. Around you the atmosphere thickened with the tangible pressure of looming death, each hit against your shield an emphatic reminder of how close life brushed against oblivion. Yet in this chaos the primal urge to survive prevailed, steadying your resolve. You pressed forward, negotiating a landscape turned treacherous, a quagmire slick with blood and mud beneath the fallen bodies. This grim dance of survival, orchestrated by invisible archers, peeled away any pretense, leaving only the stark instinct to live as you pushed on shield to shield, vulnerability hovering with every step. Close combat introduced a new horror, as opposing forces collided in a visceral maze of sweat and screams. The metallic bite of anxiety hung in the air, and the spear in your grip became both weapon and weight. In this constricted battlefield, survival hinged on split-second decisions, your world compressing into the narrow focus of mere feet around you. Time twisted in the melee, memory shattering amid the ringing clash of metal and the muffled thud of flesh. No longer was there room for individual reckoning. You responded with mechanical precision, driven by the imperative need to survive. The faces of enemies blurred and merged, human considerations evaporating beneath the immediacy of life's desperate fight. You thrusted forward, carried by adrenaline and necessity, tiny endurance defying the chaotic tides of war. As battles pressed on, the earth upon which you tread transformed into a graveyard, echoing of comrades fallen. Each step trampled over those who had succumbed to war's embrace, a step towards survival, tinged with the sorrow of familiar faces now stilled. The tragedy of war enveloped you, the fallen brothers whispering from the soil, imploring you to carry forward their memory against the relentless advance. In battle's heat, monotony emerged within the frenzy, a repeating cycle of thrust and defend, actions blurring into one another without conscious thought. Adrenaline ebbed into pattern, a numbing rhythm that dulled the senses as reflex overcame fear. Home's distant memories interlaced with conflict's fabric, anchoring you in surreal reality as survival became routine and comfort against the madness surrounding. Luck's fickle hand lingered as your ghostly companion through the turmoil, deciding who survived and who perished. Each arrow narrowly missing, each enemy strike deflected, was a whisper of fortune. The line between life and death shrank to moments and inches, fate's hard truth manifesting in fallen comrades, in your shared battlefield lottery. Amidst the pervasive desperation, the agonized cries of wounded comrades blended in a universal lament. Battle's cacophony drowned individual voices, sculpting an overwhelming chorus, bound by shared struggle. The chilling chorus of survival contrasted deeply with primal survival instincts. Between chaotic exchanges lay brief pauses, a respite where reflection emerged, penetrating the grueling haze. Here life's fragility crystallized sharply, the faces of the lost, the absurdity of struggle, the reality, and the longing for sanctuary distilling into poignant comprehension. This rare stillness birthed gratitude amid ruin, grounding you as the fury of war prepared to resume. As conflict ebbed, a silence hung heavy, marking a passage in the cycle's ongoing narrative. The battlefield, a chaotic tableau reborn in calm, bore witness to scars both visible and unseen. The shared experiences, profound and binding, turned comrades into echoes of conflict's legacy. Walking away, every step resonated with the whispers of stories fading into history, lives entwined with the indelible memory of survival. Upon arriving at the camp, the farmer conscripted into a reluctant soldier finds a world engulfed by despair. Faces etched with hardship greet him, eyes dulled by the unrelenting tread of war and survival. The air hangs heavy with smoke, unwashed bodies, and a metallic tang that gnaws at the senses. As he claims his plot of muddy earth, it's clear that this ramshackle encampment offers meagre protection against the biting wind that seeps through straw shelters. As night descends, a sombre hush spreads. No fires burn, for fear of drawing the enemy's gaze, or wasting what little fuel the commanders jealously guard. The darkness amplifies the soft groans of the wounded, and the relentless skittering of rats among the living and the dead alike. The farmer, wrapped in a thin mat, finds scant comfort in the day's survival. His mind wrestles with the day's horrors and tomorrow's uncertainty, as every rustle might herald an attack. Gone are the comforts of familiar routines. Here survival dictates swift adaptation. The camp lacks the warmth of community life, replaced by a brotherhood forged in shared misery. The farmer recalls the whispers of family dinners, replaced by a chorus of nods and grunts among fellow soldiers. Resources are stretched thin, forcing innovation and reliance on one another. Drying millet paste transforms into sustenance. Rainwater strained through makeshift filters offers precious hydration, and wounds abound with scavenged cloth. Even amid such scarcity, a rhythm emerges, a fragile sense of order amidst chaos. Time blurs as days and nights cycle through hardship. Sleep offers little respite, fractured as it is by the cold and exhaustion. Each morning, the farmer rises with the whispered rustle of others, embarking on duties spurred by instinct alone. By day he braces against exhaustion, unaware of what comes. A battle, a stolen moment of rest. Night brings stillness, solitude a constant companion, interrupted only by haunting cries. In the darkness the cold seeps deep, stealing warmth and sleep alike. The shadows, thick as velvet, cast every sound into sharp relief, each noise a harbinger of potential doom. Amid this suffering, a bond forms among the soldiers. Initially hesitant, the farmer discovers a reluctant kinship, stronger for the adversity they share. Grim humour emerges in tales and jests, the sting of hunger and the loathing of rations transforming into sparks of levity. They are brothers by circumstance, their shared struggle a lifeline. Small gestures of generosity bloom, a bartered item for warmth, a wound bound by another's hand. Over pitiless nights, these small kindnesses weave moments of grace into the fabric of survival, breathing life into an otherwise bleak existence. Scarcity reigns supreme, dictating each action, casting a constant shadow. Rations seldom arrive, leaving each bite of food a sacred commodity. Innovation thrives out of necessity, as fishermen seek sustenance in hidden streams, and foragers uncover routes untapped by the enemy. Each success is a triumph over deprivation, hoarding not in greed but survival. Every item fulfills a purpose, transformed by desperate hands into necessities. Protective alliances sprout as communities adapt, pooling resources and knowledge against the relentless march of scarcity. Yet another foe lurks unseen but no less deadly: disease, a spectre haunting the camp's every corner. Illness stalks the weary and the strong alike, draining strength in slow, unyielding waves. The camp takes on a spectral hue as sickness claims comrades, warriors reduced to hollow shells. As disease fells one after another, despair becomes an unwelcome companion, whispering tales of families left behind, love lost to time. With hope as the final thread, one clings to survival, determination fostering resilience even in the face of the inevitable. Rations become a solemn ritual, each meagre portion savoured not for its flavour, but its promise of endurance. What was once taken for granted now requires careful consideration. Each morsel becomes a potential saving grace or a chance at future favour. Hunger spawns bitter humour, envy stretched to its breaking point in jest, a fleeting warmth against relentless burdens. Occasionally, spoils appease hunger, just enough to spark a muted celebration beneath a tapestry of stars. Temporary camaraderie amidst a life spent in thin survival. Even in these dire conditions, healers emerge among the ranks, revered for their arcane knowledge of herbs and treatments. Makeshift aids turn to remedies both bold and bizarre to stem the tide of injury and illness. Each success cements grim resolve, materials dissipating as quickly as ailments mount. Acts of healing echo quietly through the camp, each small victory casting rays of hope across an otherwise bleak landscape. These practiced hands toil tirelessly, understanding that compassion and action heal more than mere promises. Nature itself poses a formidable adversary, meeting the soldiers with ferocity that rivals battle. The wind bites, tearing at torn clothes, and the rain turns dry ground to quagmire. Water pools, eroding solid footing, nature testing each step. The sun, unyielding and indifferent, offers scorching punishments hidden beneath deceptive shadows. Yet the soldiers adapt, crafting makeshift shelters from scraps, nature serving as both ally and enemy. The camp finds ways to weave through the elements, hope resting in every breath taken beneath an unrelenting sky. In the delicate thread of life and death, amid the soil rich with stories, the soldier persists. Laughter and tales remind them of home and love, a whispered resistance to the death-shadowed reality around them. As darkness cloaks the camp, each breath is a marker of life, each day passed a testament to tenacity. Here in the mud and the fighters forged in fire, unfathomable strength grows within hearts untouched by despair. Legends arise, ancient tales woven with courage, telling of lives relentlessly lived beneath a tapestry sewn from survival's stark authenticity. In a scene shrouded behind thick leather curtains, officers gather around tables heaped with dried fish, pickled vegetables and warm rice wine. These meals, more ritualistic than nourishing, symbolise rank and privilege, a stark contrast to the gruel served to the rank and file. As the machinery of war continues, food transforms into currency, and those commanding the lines claim the largest share. Encircled by laughter and the clang of cups, the officers' feasts echo through the camp, a grim reminder of the divide between command and conscript. Beneath thin, worn tents, your meals consist of meagre portions of old rice, supplemented by whatever roots or plants you can forage. Each meal serves as a reminder of the officer's indulgence, breeding resentment among the ranks. The smell of cooked meat just out of reach taunts you into restless sleep. Hunger is your constant nagging companion, gnawing away at your resolve and reminding you of a time when a bowl of hot soup could comfort you. As days pass in a haze of deprivation, you master the art of foraging, a skill as essential as wielding a weapon. You scan unfamiliar terrain, seeking nature's slim offerings. Wild herbs, berries, bits of bark, each a small reprieve in a war-torn landscape. Soldiers often venture out at night, risking enemy patrols to foray near abandoned storehouses or village fields. A successful haul offers a brief reprieve from the constant hunger, but it is never assured. With supplies dwindling, desperation drives bold acts. Food caches are stealthily hidden, stolen or bartered, passing hands like contraband. Sometimes fights erupt over scraps, further fracturing the fragile bonds among comrades. In these moments, trust falters where starvation breeds, unity shatters under shared deprivation. But your survival instincts sharpen. Whether scavenging weeds or risking life for grain, you learn to navigate through desperation. The body weakens under constant malnourishment. Muscles lose strength, limbs grow heavy, and thoughts become sluggish, traits ill-suited for surviving the treacherous battlefields. Energy is rationed as carefully as food, each movement calculated to conserve precious calories. Tasks once simple now demand Herculean effort. Sleep offers little relief to a body starved for sustenance. Despite physical decline, a new mental resilience forms to counter the incessant hunger. You become intimately aware of your limits, learning to push beyond them. Each sunrise heralds another day of survival, a gift and curse intertwined. Dreams become fevered hauntings of feasts and embraces which feel forever distant. Yet this cycle awakens in some visceral determination, a drive that pushes you toward a future where hunger loosens its grip. In scarcity's shadow, food transforms into both weapon and prize, inflaming envy and suspicion, even among allies. Conflicts over rations turn former friends against one another. The battlefield's cruelty bleeds into camp, leaving you with the weight of these fractures. The value of life diminishes as empty bellies outweigh kinship. In this harsh environment emerges a lesson about how desperation can forge bonds while simultaneously breaking them, shedding light on what, if anything, remains sacred when survival prevails. Maintaining morale becomes its own battle. Stories, tales of past harvests and childhood feasts rekindle faint hope and memories. Some soldiers leverage dark humour as a shield, crafting offhand quips that bolster spirit against despair. Such whispers of defiance, alongside small acts of kindness like sharing a mere handful of rice, sustain the spirit. Despite dire circumstances, you remember your worth extends beyond the battlefield or the rank you wear. Strength in numbers and shared purpose foster a camaraderie that flickers but never fully dies. Officers view the depleting supplies with clinical detachment. Their aloofness isn't born of malice, but the practiced practicality of seeing soldiers as numbers rather than names. Maintaining authority and structure becomes paramount, often at the expense of empathy for those beneath them. Even as provisions thin, the hierarchy remains firm and unyielding, with commanders focused on strategy rather than the hunger of those they lead. This harsh arithmetic frames individual sacrifice as an inevitable component of victory. While you grapple with hunger on the battlefield, your family at home faces an equally grim survival struggle. With fields untended, harvests decline, and the community's sturdy structure unravels. Families yearn for your return, with stories of victory, but reality is a portrait of empty granaries and silent threshing floors. Letters bear less news, more longing, a cycle of anticipation and despair. In your absence, their lives shift from daily rituals into hurried adjustments, forcing children to ignore hunger, while spouses labour harder for less. You ponder whether they too feel the strain of your choices, if your absence echoes their starvation. Ironically, victories in battle often amplify defeat at home, drawing parallels between the various fields you tread and the parched land your family endures. Amidst scarcity, entrepreneurship emerges in shadowy markets where soldiers trade in whispers and secrets. Enterprising individuals exploit gaps in supply lines, smuggling goods in exchange for tokens or favours. Here, rank and class blur. Desperation retains a levelling effect. Soldiers learn the subtle art of clandestine barter, masking involvement lest exposure lead to punishment. Such transactions, risky yet necessary, provide means to alleviate deprivation, maintaining a fragile balance. Faced with scarcity, loyalty wavers and whispers of dissent ripple. Hunger erodes principles, turning small grievances into significant disputes. For some, desertion flutters at the consciousness's edge, and the cause they fight for fades beneath immediate need. Yet understanding remains that cohesion offers the best chance of survival. Though following orders is crucial, it is equally about embracing collective endurance. Even under unrelenting hunger, subtle resistance takes form through small acts of defiance. Dark humour, or a clandestine sharing of morsels, nurtures a shared identity among those trapped in a vortex of scarcity. These muted acts symbolise not just defiance, but stand testament to humanity's enduring spirit amidst strife. When hunger dominates, it's these gestures that insist loudly on the refusal to surrender spirit to deprivation. In mud and dirt, famine and scarcity cannot claim territories where strength and defiance are discreetly bred and shared among you, one soldier at a time. In the heart of ancient China's turbulent warring states period, you find yourself swept away from the life of a humble farmer, thrust into an existence marked by brutality and uncertainty. Once, your days were defined by familiar cycles of planting and harvest, your hands accustomed to the texture of earth and grain. Now you march under a flag whose emblem you barely recognise, an allegiance born more of coercion than conviction. Allegiances blur in the dust of the battlefield, the lines between friend and foe indistinct. The grand causes, honour, land and law, fade beneath the overriding need for survival. Each passing day renders the banners under which you fight mere fabric, the ideals they supposedly represent drowned out by the rhythmic drumbeats of conflict. The state you fight for is an indistinct shadow, its name a whisper in the back of your mind, echoing faintly from the proclamations shouted by the men who commandeered you from your fields. As skirmishes blend into one another, its presence fades amidst the cacophony of war. Memories of your former life surface during rare moments of quiet, flashes of rice fields and family gatherings weaving through your thoughts. The spear in your grip becomes a tenuous bridge, linking your past as a farmer to this surreal present as an unwilling combatant. Officers extol the virtues of honour and valour, yet these lofty ideals crumble in the trenches, where mud and fear suffocate any notions of grandeur. Across the battlefield, your enemies' faces are reflections of your own, a stark reminder of the harsh realities of war. Youths clad in garments like yours, their expressions mirroring your own confusion and exhaustion. These men too are farmers uprooted from their lands, caught in the same state machinery that considers human lives expendable. In fleeting moments after the clash, when dust settles and bodies lie still on blood-soaked earth, recognition glimmers among the carnage. a shared fate dictated by unseen authorities. Your shield feels heavier as you see these men not as adversaries, but as fellow victims of ambition. Orders roll down from distant commanders, delivered in imperious tones, stripped of any real explanation. Fight for the kingdom, they urge, though the cause eludes you, enshrouded in the haze of marches and battles. Speculations circulate among weary soldiers, murmured near dying campfires. Perhaps the battles are for territory, a claim to fertile lands, or maybe a nebulous quest for honour. Silence smothers inquiries, and you are left to ponder the purpose of your blood and toil. The fear of defying orders overrides curiosity, ensuring compliance born not from loyalty, but from a necessity dictated by survival. Loneliness gnaws at your resolve, every battle a stark reminder of the life you have left behind. The untended fields, the family waiting with no news of your fate. The distance between you and home stretches infinitely, a void deepened by the violence around you. In rare quiet moments, the longing for the familiarity of village life envelops you. Your mind conjures the smell of soil, the feel of fresh water on dusty skin, and the laughter of children dancing through a mundane day. These memories solace and torture, a vision of simplicity amidst the chaos. Amidst whispers of desertion, tales flit through the ranks. The promise of freedom seduces, yet the reality of constant surveillance extinguishes such dangerous dreams. Spies lurk within the ranks, and camaraderie forged in shared suffering serves as both hindrance and armour against despair. Despite the desire to flee, the bonds formed with fellow soldiers cement a fragile unity, preventing the solitary pursuit of freedom. Deserters become ghost stories, told to unsettle the obedient. Propaganda distorts truth, painting you a hero fighting for an enigmatic cause. Under duress, you become a symbol of valour, despite the yearning for the simple authenticity of life steeped in grain and dirt. War manipulates, weaving tales of grandeur into mundane reality. And while officers extol honour, its essence escapes you, reduced to an intangible prize. The cost of pursuing such honour are measured in fallen comrades and shattered psyches, hidden beneath the veneer of duty. As battles rage, your mind retreats into memories of a gentler time. In solitude, amidst the din of marching feet, you dream of afternoons bathed in sunlight, tending fields with an ease now foreign. The echoes of past life reclaim space in your heart, a refuge from the persistent tumult around you. Fatigue creeps through every fibre, the insidious enemy gnawing at morale and wearing you down. Each step drags heavier than the last, resignation slipping in alongside nostalgia. At day's end, you grapple with the remnants of humanity within, reckoning with war's shadow. Reflections paint a war untold in scrolls, a tale of survival and endurance rather than strategy. Absent the glory of campaigns, your narrative is tangled in stark truths, survival carved against anxiety's harsh light. True triumph rests not in wielding weapons, but in emerging with heart and spirit intact, claiming a deeper victory beyond the tumult. As day fades to night, the cost of war imprints upon you, a burden held alongside the enduring vision of peaceful fields and the unyielding hope of returning home. The long, weary march back from the battlefield weighed heavily upon the soldiers, their return a far cry from the glorious homecoming they might have imagined. Each step revealed an altered world, their villages now mere ghosts of what they had once been. What should have been a joyous return instead unfolded as a trek filled with dread and uncertainty, the men driven solely by the hope of familiar comfort. Their feet, blistered and bruised, mirrored the wounds on their souls as they trudged along paths lined with silent trees, void of the laughter and warmth they remembered. Anxiety grew with tales shared along the road, stories of homes ransacked, fields overtaken by nature's relentless hand, and the state's harsh policies that had chipped away at their once secure lives. As they neared their villages, the soldiers faced a sobering sight. Neglected lands lay before them, once fertile fields twisted into wilderness by weeds. The longing for home was tempered by the reality of devastation, where ordered rows of crops had been usurped by wild growth. To these men, the act of reclaiming their lands was not just about survival, but also an emotional reckoning with their lost identity as farmers. They returned with a deep desire to cultivate life, only to find themselves tilling the soil amidst the rubble of their dreams. The transition from warrior back to farmer challenged them to stitch together the torn fabric of their lives, dealing with illness from malnourishment, and balancing the needs of their families against the scars of war. Communities that had once been closely knit now felt fractured, their bonds tested by time and absence. The return of these men, shadowed by the memories of those who did not, marked a bittersweet reunion, leaving empty chairs at tables where laughter used to roar. Widowers and orphans sought comfort amidst the ruins, finding solace in shared stories and collective grief. The absence of many weighed heavily, casting a pall over what should have been joyous reunions. As the returned soldiers mingled with their kin, they felt the chasms of war separating them, gaps that could only be bridged by shared efforts to rebuild. This delicate balancing act between despair and determination gradually resurrected the fragile hope once rooted in their ancestral land. The soldiers carried invisible scars etched deeply within their minds. The horrors of battle haunted them, resurfacing as ghostly nightmares that visited under the cover of night. Faces aged and lined by trauma struggled to find peace amidst echoes of cries and clashing steel. In silence, these men fought a solitary war, a relentless battle against the tumultuous storms of memory and sadness. Homecoming promised relief, but the emotional wounds proved resistant to time's balm. This inner turmoil distanced them from those who had never known the battlefield's brutality, creating invisible walls within their communities. Words faltered, memories jumbled, leaving these veterans adrift in a sea of misunderstanding and unspoken pain. Upon their return, the soldiers were greeted not by joyful cries or hearty feasts, but by the indifferent machinery of state bureaucracy. Cold and unsympathetic, tax collectors upheld stringent laws with unwavering persistence. Years of sacrifice brought them little respite, as debts amassed despite their battles, bureaucracy's iron grip refusing to yield. Returning veterans found themselves enmeshed in disputes against the very authorities they had defended, battling once again, only now vied in ink and parchment. The struggle to reclaim their lives became a contest of wit and resilience against the oppressive weight of a seemingly indifferent state. Yet amid these struggles, resilience emerged, stubbornly pushing through the tangled weeds of despair. The soldiers, once warriors, now wielded plows and hope. Their collective determination sparked amidst shared losses, reignited community bonds, replacing war drums with the steady rhythm of hoeing and planting. Gardens bloomed anew, testament to survival and shared struggle. In this union of spirits, each seed sown symbolised an unwavering pledge to the future. Slowly the fields yielded life, and the seasons brought sustenance and stability, renewing ties severed by war. The myth of glory faded as soldiers reconciled with grim realities, their dreams of heroism unmasked as mere fabrications, grand tales of honour dissipated, leaving them with blood and sweat-soaked memories of survival. No songs immortalised their deeds. Instead, they found fleeting satisfaction in simple meals shared under starlit skies. Storytelling brought a different honour, one nestled within the shared heartbeats of comrades who endured the same harrowing ordeal, a raw chronicle of absurdities and tragedies. Their bravery lay not in imagined feats, but in the stoic acceptance of their fate, crafting a new narrative from the ashes of war. In the vast, timeless landscape, these men found silent commemoration, more enduring than any monument of stone. The soil reclaimed their anguish, whispering tales through rustling leaves and swaying grasses. Nature's tribute faced no decay, honouring the sacrifices of the forgotten with a humility unattainable by human construct. Though their names risked being swallowed by time, their legacy endured, lives rewritten in the essence of Earth itself, bonding forever with the land they loved and fought to reclaim. As these soldiers' stories wove into the broader fabric of history, they became part of a collective memory, ensuring their sacrifices were never truly forgotten. As dawn announces its quiet arrival over the scarred landscapes of the Warring States era, a tangible silence blankets the fields, once teeming with life. These lands, wrestled from nature by the hands of conscripted farmers, are now the resting places of countless men, their stories absorbed into the soil. The earth, uncaring and impartial, becomes the last keeper of their tales, enveloping these forgotten souls in its embrace. Without ceremony or lasting memorial, mass graves dot the terrain, hastily dug by weary hands to accommodate the relentless toll of conflict. Men who once coaxed crops from this ground now lie within it, their sacrifices rendered invisible by the passage of time. Here, amid these unmarked graves, an unsettling truth persists. The state has little room for honour in its unending quest for dominance and power. Drafted from diverse backgrounds, the dead, now anonymous, are united only in their forgotten mortality. Their families, left in dark oblivion, send prayers into the unknown, yearning for closure that will never find its object. The kingdom's scrolls, diligently documenting the rise and fall of power, disregard these men, their existence erased in service of the state. They become whispers on the wind, their bones entwined with the roots of ancient willows, resonating subtly only to those who listen closely. Yet despite this collective amnesia, the earth remembers. In a harshly beautiful irony, the fields that nurtured life are now sustained by the bones of those who fell upon them. Willows sway gently above these silent witnesses, their roots a living testament to the forgotten soldiers whose lives continue to nourish the land. Even as nature covers the visible scars, it cannot erase them entirely. The whispers of those lost to war persist, echoing amidst the rustling leaves and shifting shadows, a sombre chorus for anyone willing to pause and listen. The land, in its silent wisdom, becomes the unsung historian of these events, its testimonies held not in marble monuments, but in the rhythm of seasons and the quiet dignity of growth. Crops now enriched by past sacrifices rise from this ground, each stalk a silent monument to those who fell. This tragic fertility sees survivors unknowingly partake of a shared heritage, masticating history with every grain. Families, adrift without markers to guide their grief, mourn absent fathers and sons, their loss memorialised only in the narratives passed through generations around family hearths. In the grand tapestry of history, the conscripted farmer remains a spectral presence, overshadowed by tales of kings and generals. Unmentioned in epic ballads, these men serve as mere footnotes, lost to the ambitions of the powerful. As centuries roll onward, so do the stories of individual sacrifice fade, their echoes swallowed by the hands that write history. What endures in the public consciousness are the victories and strategies of rulers, disembodied from the common lives they claimed. Still, within the bonds forged in battle lie enduring testimonies of camaraderie and shared survival, unrecorded by official chronicles, but alive in whispers among those who experience them. These human stories lie beyond the reach of formal histories, passed quietly from comrade to comrade, from parent to child. Each returning soldier holds fragments of those who did not survive, bearing witness to a shared journey marked by unspeakable trials. These personal accounts, shared around flickering fires, breathe life into tales of valour and the mundane bravery of enduring, offering a fragile but potent connection to the past. As survivors return to their shattered homes, they carry with them not medals or glory, but memories etched painfully in their minds. Haunted by the spectres of war, they reveal in their weary eyes and silent moments the true cost of service. Shadows of the past accompany them, rendering survival itself a complex, emotional terrain. Communal silence and shared understanding foster healing, providing an unspoken acknowledgement by family and community of the sacrifices made. Generations may pass, erasing names and faces, yet the legends spun from these histories endure, transforming forgotten heroes into figures of familial lore. Through the embellishments of storytelling, ancient soldiers become larger than life, symbols of virtues whose lessons are woven into the moral fabric of the community. In this way, the memory of these unsung lives persists amid the stories told around home fires, preserving their strength against the oblivion of the ages. As archaeologists unearth remnants of this past, artefacts recovered from the soil whisper of lives once lived, fragments of pottery, tools and bones speak of everyday stories, bringing to light narratives neglected by grand histories. In these finds, the spirit of the conscripted farmer coalesces, revealing the realities of ancient civilizations through personal relics. Each shard and every tool serve as emissaries from a lost era, connecting the present to an unrecognised past, and ensuring that these silenced voices find resonance in the ongoing tale of humanity. In closing, as we reflect on the enduring legacies of these forgotten souls, remember that history's narrative, though vast, is constructed by many unseen hands. If you found this journey into the past enlightening, please do like and subscribe to delve further into the captivating tales of our shared human history.